KBLA, we keep us safe, we keep us provided for, we keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When it comes to being cut from a very, very original cloth, there are very few people on planet Earth who've done it better and clearer than O.G. Rick. I'm very grateful that OG has decided to spend this hour with us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. OG, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm here, my brother, and I appreciate being here with you. You know, I don't have a lot of friends, but I consider you to be one of my friends, and I appreciate you so much.
Mr. Rick is the genuine article. He's an example of how consciousness, cunning, and culture make for the perfect combination. From the clothes on his back, to the gait of his walk, to the cool in his talk, you'll know you're addressing an OG when you're in his presence. He serves as our very own host here at the OGs and does an immaculate job of both honoring guests and interweaving his own personal experiences to paint the truest picture of our traditions. Starts with fashion. Even hear the phrase, look good, feel good. It's not a matter of clothing that defines you. Anyone can don on expensive threads, but to be a real OG, it has to be in you, not on you. And Mr. Rick would know. He spent his formative years in a time when your garment meant everything. When I was coming up, he says, I was dressed to the nines. It didn't mean nothing. I'm not going to use the language. That was just an everyday thing. That's because it wasn't about the trend. It wasn't about using the mediums for honest expression. He believed in authenticity and believes in it to this day. OG, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, sir, and it's a pleasure to be here.
OG, listen, I want you to impart some wisdom to us from your experience. Not only in the city of Chicago and the country, but these are very, very difficult times for our country. Take your time and share with us your thoughts at this hour about where we are as a people.
As a people, I think it is time for us to gravitate toward unity. We have to start working with each other. Most people are complaining about what Trump is not going to do, what he's taking, the programs are disappearing, this, that, and the other. Hey, we control one of the strongest economies on this planet. So why are we looking to other people? Why don't we look to ourselves and use the resources that we have and become an independent people like everyone else? It is not making sense. So we have to create a roadmap for our young people, for our children, so that they can change the narrative. Because if they follow in the footprints that we're making right now, they're going to lose. It is very important for us, my brother, that we set the example in the correct manner, in the proper manner, so that they can navigate this society. This is a very, very tricky society. And if you haven't been here navigating it before, it will gobble you up.
OG, a lot of our young people, they can hear you. They can listen to you. And they respect and appreciate you. I think about ministers in our community. I think about politicians in our community. I think about, the people that we've turned to who've historically had voices. But there's a whole nother vernacular. There's a whole nother vibe. There's a whole nother rhythm to communicating with our young people today, and a lot of people who've given up. How do you make it work?
Well, the thing to do, my brother, today, I think like when you and I were coming up, it was hard for us to hear our parents in a certain light. So think the best thing that we can do is allow young people to communicate to us, and then we can respond with our experience and communicate with them so that they can understand what the two of us are saying. We do too much talking, and we need to do more listening, because these young people are very, very intelligent out there, and they have a lot to offer, but they don't feel like we're allowing them to express themselves in a way that's meaningful to them.
So listening is a big factor of your thinking on how to engage young people. Some, of course, older people might argue that they feel like at this stage of their lives they have a lot to impart, that they have a lot to say. You're saying some of that is a function of timing, but hearing what the streets are saying does matter to being able to understand each other. Is that what you're hearing, OG?
Let me make it real simple in a way that you and I can relate. You meet a young lady and you're having that conversation with that young lady because you really want to be involved with her. I think at that point, I think you're doing more listening than talking. The same way that relationship happens is the same way it has to happen with our children. We have to be attentive and listen so that we can give the proper response. If we're not listening, then we can't respond properly. I tell you, like my mother used to tell me, she said, hey,
I think I lost the OG's signal for just a moment. I'm sure I'll have it when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're going to get some real wisdom today from a brother who knows exactly what our people have been through, what we're all going through. Have a little bit of a technical problem, which we'll work out momentarily, but I am so honored and privileged that OG Rick, the original OG, is here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. Meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome forward to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. OG Rick will be right back with us in just a moment, but I do want to pick up on the point that he raised about listening, because it's something that I've learned from Tavis Smiley. Charitable listening. when it comes to hearing out our young people. You find yourself in a barber shop. Sometimes some of us just want to talk. But if you listen, you can hear what some of the streets are saying, the wisdom imparted to us by our barbers, by older men who are sharing with us their experiences about what's taking place. And sometimes we can hear it better than we can see it. In fact, we might hear it first. And I don't know anyone who knows the streets better than OG Rick. Has a massive following on his radio show called The OGs. You can find him on social media, on Facebook, one of the best produced shows with their ears to the streets that I've ever seen on social media. And I'm really so grateful to God for the platform, because so many voices that have been stilled over time now have access to the airwaves, and they put real time in the production of those voices and of those shows. And so here in the Midwest and throughout the country, increasingly the voice of OG Rick does matter. Tens of thousands of followers and thousands of shares of the programs that he advances on behalf of brothers and sisters who've been incarcerated, who've been in the joint and had these very difficult challenges in their life. And the sense of encouragement that comes from the OG actually matters. I've rarely seen a brother walk into a room and command as much respect wherever he goes as the OG. So I invited him to be on our program today. We have a small technical difficulty at this moment, but we will work it out momentarily. I do want to go back to this concept, though, of listening, because that's been my experience in the high schools that I've been traveling through lately, in the listening tours that I have been engaged in lately. People have a lot to say. And certainly African Americans in this country, hundreds of thousands of them have been laid off. The diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that have historically come from our fight within the law to make sure that as the country grows, we grow with the country. The OG says that there's an opportunity that's being presented to us at this hour to turn to our communities and do more in our communities, and we can make things happen in our communities without the government. And I certainly respect that. I also know, and I would balance the conversation with, when we need health care, when we need surgery, we need doctors, and that requires some help from the government to make sure that these colleges are letting our most qualified students in so that they can train themselves and work their way back to our communities for those very purposes. And so today I wanted to have this conversation with OG Rick because he's very influential in my life. He's shared some of the similar experiences in my life that I've observed and understand about his life, and yet the amazing grace that he shows, the men that he works with, and the respect that he commands matters to the people and to the streets. Yes, in the upper echelons of the suites, he's also in the streets, and striking that balance does matter in our ongoing efforts to reach out to people who have been left behind. When I think about the fact that the President of the United States is one of the most unpopular people in the history of American politics at this hour, and yet the Democratic Party itself is equally as unpopular. OG Rick tells us that we need to be listening. OG, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm glad you're back.
Welcome back. Thank you.
OG, listen, you were talking about listening just before we had our technical difficulty. Can you pick back up on why listening is so important to these young people?
The last thing I said was, my mother used to tell me, I should take some of the cotton out of my mouth, out of my ears, and put it in my mouth. Meaning, I need to do more listening than talking. And we as elders need to listen more to our young people, because they have something that they're trying to express. They have visions, but They're trying to communicate it so that we can expound on it and try to give them a roadmap to how to properly express it in life. But we're too busy trying to instruct them about our lives and how we did it. And we're in a different world now. I can remember my mother talking to me and explaining to me the things that I should be listening to. And my mind would be saying, well, you know, you're old, we don't do that no more, which was very incorrect. The thing was, I just couldn't understand her from her perspective because I don't think we were listening to each other. Now, the crazy part about that, my brother, is here it is 50 years later, and everything that I do in life, I pull reference from the things that my mother was trying to communicate to me back then. And I have a clear drawing now because I can understand her now, and she's gone, but I can understand her now, but I couldn't understand her then because I didn't have the experience in life, and I wasn't seeing things the way that she saw them, and she wasn't seeing them the way that I saw them. But, you know, if we listen to each other, I think we can try to understand what both of us are seeing in order to make a happy medium to be successful in the journey.
You know, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable in this moment. And I'm going to be vulnerable because when I think about what you said, that some of the things our parents or even our mothers, in the case of the analogy that you gave, it hits us when they're gone. Maybe it's the tone, maybe it's the way it's expressed, maybe the way it's delivered. You know, I feel like sometimes when I'm just going to be vulnerable, when my mama talks to me and I'm 60 years old, you know, I think that the tone is a factor in whether or not I can receive it. It don't mean that it's not the truth. It's just that I don't want to hear it from her that way. Am I speaking truth right there? Is that what you're telling us?
You are. You're very much. It's uncomfortable because we're miscommunicating. And we have to intentively listen so that we can find a medium of communication. We're talking at each other, you know, and we need to talk to each other and have a thought process involved in the engagement. And we do a lot of that. I think we all experience that, you know, and we just need to be mindful and be more careful because time is precious. You just said something that I think we all need to chew on, and that is that we miss them when they're gone. You know, we need to take advantage and find the tools that we need to communicate with each other while we're here. You know, we can run out of a lot of things, my brother, but the one thing you don't want to try running out of, and that's time. So we need to use the time as much as, or we need to give it the value because it's the most precious thing that we have. And we need to find ways with each other, parents and siblings, children. We need to find that happy medium so that we can use the time wisely. Because like you said, when they're gone, you know, I miss my mother so much, but I didn't have the consciousness to understand that the reality of her being gone one day would really be a present factor, you know, and we act like we got all the time in the world, but time is limited. And I hope that what we're saying here today reminds people that it is the one thing that you don't want to run out of.
I appreciate that, OG. You know, I often say that we are the products from our birth to the present. We are here over time, but in the moment we're in time. And
yes,
sometimes we don't understand each other in the moment that we are in time. And that miscommunication is a factor. Now, some might see this as just pure wisdom coming from the OG. But what I'm trying to tell you is when I look politically at the number of people who are not voting, who are not participating, who are discouraged, who seemingly are without hope, it's not just the policy prescriptions that we echo off the top of our mouths that have been written about ad nauseum by scholars. It is in real time listening to what people are saying in the moment, in the present, about their anxieties, about their fears, about their hopes. And if you can hear them, maybe the right words will come out of your mouth that motivates them to a higher calling. Does that make sense, OG?
It makes all the sense in the world. You know, you participate in a world that most people don't participate, nor do they understand. So the conversation that you and I are having is so vital because, see, we depend on you to go there and come back and communicate it to us. Communication is an art, and you're very good at it. And we look to you to digest that situation there, bring it to us, and regurgitate it in a way that we get it. And that's a part of listening on both parts, because you're like a school teacher. You go to Washington, you come back, we're the students, we're listening in hopes that we can digest what you're saying so that we can understand how the game is being played. Because the game is tricky.
You know, OG, of course, we're live in Los Angeles, and based upon the way our technology is set up, I'd like to be able to see you, but I gotta kind of hear you in order to take advantage of these times and these breaks. But let me just share this or ask this question. When I think about the sounds that came from East LA, the sounds that came from Compton, the sounds of the streets that our brothers have echoed not only through rap, but through the journeys of their lives, their incarceration experiences, their education, the friends that they buried, the drugs that they've seen, the reality that they've lived, and many of them never having lived outside of the neighborhood, and their lack of trust of anything other than the streets. How do people, including myself, who don't know the streets, earn the trust of the streets to be able to move all of us together somewhere forward?
So me being one of those people that you just described, I would have to communicate with you in order to be able to make that connection. You're sitting talking to me and just trying to have a conversation. That does not work with them. All the things that you've just said, the music, the everything that they involve in, the streets, the et cetera, you know, that is their form of expression. That is their form of communication, you know, and they're saying to the world, hey, you know, you need to hear me. You don't hear me, but I'm trying my best to express to you what my mindset and my reality is. And you're responding in a way through your own eyes. And now you're treating me as if I'm a blind man because I don't have the experience of what's coming through your eyes. I only have the experience what's coming through my eyes. And I'm trying to express that to you. And how do we find a happy medium to do that? Sometimes you got to experience the people's world. I'm out here every day, sir. You know, I don't participate in the streets anymore, but I'm in the streets every day. So I'm listening to the people. I'm feeling the people. I'm feeling the love that they give me. That is very important, sir. That is how you communicate with people. We all have children. You know, when When your child hurts herself or himself and they come to you, pay attention to your concern about trying to figure out what happened, baby. You know, where's it hurt at? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm reading you. I'm feeling you.
Yeah, this is the same thing that grown people are saying and young people are saying. They're just expressing it in another way, and they're expecting us to respond the same way, and we're not. So there's your miscommunication.
I'm totally feeling that. You know, I want to, I know we got about a minute before we come forward, so maybe I should just phrase this question. Of course, we'll be coming back with our 2 more segments. OG, I want to say that one of the, when we think about this communication with the streets, it's like in terms of the class and caste system of our nation, folks who are not from the streets are writing all of the laws, and they look at the streets in a condescending way, and they end up, you know, reacting to the culture and the reality of the streets by condemning and incarcerating or locking up or passing laws for the streets, even though they're not from the streets. And I'm wondering, OG, and maybe we'll deal with this when we come forward after the break, what would happen if the shoes were on the other feet and the laws actually came from the streets, and they were looking at all of those of us who've never lived in the streets, and they were passing the kind of judgment on us that has been passed on them? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than the original OG Rick.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Trump Presidential Library Project is facing a legal setback after a judge temporarily blocked the transfer of Miami-Dade College land designated for its construction.
That land belongs to our children unborn.
Black historian Marvin Dunn argues the college violated Florida's Sunshine Law. Dunn has 10 days to post a $150,000 bond for the injunction to take effect, while Miami-Dade College has already filed an appeal. A judge has denied the Missouri NAACP's request for a restraining order against the state's new congressional map. The court says Republican Governor Mike Kehoe's motion to dismiss the case is still under review. The NAACP filed the suit in September, accusing Kehoe of illegally calling a special session to redraw the map. And billionaire philanthropist Mackenzie Scott is donating $80 million to Howard University. The HBCU says $63 million will go to the school and $17 million to its College of Medicine. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers have a quick reality check after losing at home Monday night to Miami by 1 point. Tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, the Clippers face the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The 7-0 Thunder are the last remaining undefeated team in the NBA this season. This will be a very good time for the Clippers to show some mental toughness and prove to folks that they can be a playoff team. 7 p.m. tip-off. The Lakers are off tonight. They're at home Wednesday night against San Antonio. The Chargers thought they would have the best 2 offensive tackles in the NFL this season to help block for quarterback Justin Herbert. Rashawn Slater at right tackle and Joe Alt on the right side. Slater suffered a knee injury in training camp and was lost for the season. Alt is now out for the rest of the season after suffering an ankle injury Sunday at Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
And you're not supposed to be in government. Very difficult.
There's a lot of noise out there, so let's keep it simple for a moment. Donald Trump is trying to rig the next election by packing districts with Republicans to guarantee they win more seats. You follow me? If they succeed, Republicans will keep control of the entire government in 2026 and continue enabling Trump's runaway attacks on our rights. You still with me? California is the only state big enough and bold enough to stop him. If we vote yes and pass Prop 50, we can temporarily change California's congressional maps and fight back against the election rigging happening in Texas. Make sense? My mother told me that if a bully hits you, you hit him back. We can hit back by voting yes on Prop 50. The election is November 4th, and you can vote early now. The stakes are too high to sit this out. Stand up to the bully. Choose to fight back by voting yes on Prop 50 on or before November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50. The Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50 and Fund for Policy Reform.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and my very special guest is my very good friend, OG Rick. Mr. Rick is the genuine article, the real deal, the bottom line of authenticity. He's an example of how consciousness, cunning, and culture make for the perfect combination. From the clothes on his back to the gait of his walk to the cool of his talk, you'll know you're dressing an OG in his presence. He serves as our very own host here at the OGs and does an immaculate job of both honoring guests and interweaving his own personal experiences to paint the truest picture of our traditions. OG Rick, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Yes, sir, and I'm here.
OG, let me ask you a question. I want to pick back up where before the break on this question that I struggle with in my own faith. You know, I've been taught to, as best I possibly can, to love my neighbor as myself, to love my enemy. Dr. King didn't believe in enemies. He called them frenemies. Any enemy was just a matter of time before they become your friend if you work with them. So he believed in frenemies. And I'm just wondering if the power and the wealth equation in our communities was on the other side of town, meaning the streets, meaning that the rest of the world, let's just say downtown Los Angeles, you know, looks one way at Beverly Hills, or downtown Chicago, where the power and the resources are, looks another way at the west side of Chicago and the south side of Chicago. But if the shoes were reversed, if I'm loving my neighbors myself, I think about both sides as best I possibly can. If the shoes were reversed and the resources were here, the schools were here, the healthcare was here, the housing was here, the guns weren't here, would things be different, OG?
You know, brother, that's a very in-depth question. And I'm going to take a moment here. I think it would be different because I can remember a time that you just described that was a reality in my life as a young man. There were no lot of guns. There were no lot of drugs. There was no lot of money. And we did have to look up the hill in order to see those that were privileged to have monies and a better way of life, great homes, et cetera, et cetera. I can remember my grandmother was a house cleaner, and she would take me to work with her just to experience what the other side was like. You know, I had a chance to observe them in a way, and I didn't walk away with hatred or envy because they had what they had. I walked away with appreciation because they allowed me the exposure to see what it is that I should be striving for. And it changed my life. The other part of what I'm saying is I love the reality. So, you know, you've had the opportunity, and that's what I'm going to call it, to be in a situation to whereas it was opposite of what you had lived. Now, when you get into that situation and you begin to experience the people that you are forced to be around or among, then you begin to see things in a different light. You begin to understand the conversation of the people that you're not accustomed to fraternizing with. And you begin to understand that, hey, most of these are very intelligent people. They just, I've been privileged to what I've been privileged to. But it allows you to gain an understanding that the other people on the other side don't have. And my point is that is why it is so very important that you return back to office, because now you understand something that they don't understand. You know what you're fighting for the people. They don't. This is all politically or a political idea. We're not political ideas. We're human beings. We're real people. We make mistakes, just like other people make mistakes. So we have real concerns here about our children. You know, we're just trying to do better. Now, we've been trapped in a situation that has escalated, and they've taken our children, our younger people, and they've misguided them through media, through just culture in itself, because they keep exploiting, the negative sides of life. But in the hearts of our young people, they really mean well, and they really want to do well. I can speak from that experience because I can remember watching Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney and all these other people back in the 60s that was on the television on a regular basis. And my desire was to be like them. I wanted to be a gangster like Humphrey Bogart. I wanted to be a gangster like James Cagney. I wanted to be like these guys because they were fearless. And in my environment, I knew I needed some of that to protect myself from society. I wanted to fight back, you know, but if we would really look at that today and see what they're introducing our young people to, we could understand why they're acting out the way they are, because they've been programmed to do so, because we haven't offered them a better way of life. And we need to do that. That's why we need people like you that understand what is going on out here, and you can relate to it, and you can take that concern to DC, and you can fight for what these people are really asking for, because you felt their pain. You've lived amongst them. You get it. You've talked to them. You know, who would think that you and I would be good friends? But it's true. You know, I've made my mistakes. I've been to prison. I've been a drug addict. I've been all of that was forced on me within my part of society. But by the grace of God, he brought me through it and brought me on the other side of it. And now I'm a better person. I'm a person that's trying to make the world a better place. And I can communicate with people like you and express myself, and I can understand your expression. And in that, that's what it's going to take in order to communicate with these young people out here, so that they can be heard and that they can hear us and they can understand how to navigate this mess of a situation that we're in, because we didn't create it. Someone else did.
OG, let me tell you, when I got out of prison, the first thing my mother asked me was, had I learned anything? And I said, Mama, prison was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Hello?
I said, prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. I said, I can see things differently now, Mama. And I can't put this wine back in the old skin. I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unsee the new friends that I have, the new relationships. And then coming out of prison, people that I thought would be like my best friends, they're like the most judgmental people. They look down on you. And brothers and sisters who've been through the same situation, they embrace you. It's different. And I can't explain other than using the analogy that when a pastor baptizes somebody and he puts you in the water, or she puts you in the water, you're supposed to be cleansed and you're supposed to come out feeling some kind of way. Such was the River Jordan. But life has its experiences too, that are the kind of baptism where you don't even want to be the person that you used to be. And I had a great life, as you acknowledged, in the middle class. But when I saw other brothers and sisters who were struggling, I said to myself, no, we can do better. And I'm not looking down on nobody. And what can we do to be helpful? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More OG Rick on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're keeping it real today. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
First, they tried to erase our history.
Pentagon removed training material about the Tuskegee Airmen. Arlington National Cemetery removing histories that highlighted Black veterans from its website.
Then they tried to erase our jobs.
Black Americans will disproportionately bear the brunt.
Now they think they can erase our votes.
Steal 5 congressional seats, decimating Black and brown representation.
Enough is enough. I matter, my rights matter, and our future matters. That's why I'm voting yes on Prop 50. Prop 50 lets us temporarily redraw California congressional maps to counter the election rigging Trump is trying to pull off in Texas and other states. Californians across the state are stepping up and using the power of their vote to stop the madness. So vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th, because we can't let them erase our history or our future. This ad is paid for by the NAACP and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Today's the day, LA County. It's Election Day, and your voice matters. Visit any vote center today and cast your ballot until 8 p.m. You can vote in person, drop off your ballot, or register and vote on the same day. Don't wait. Make your voice heard in the statewide special election. Go to lavote.gov for your nearest vote center or official ballot drop box. That's lavote.gov. Your trusted source for voting in LA County.
There's a lot of noise out there, so let's keep it simple for a moment. Donald Trump is trying to rig the next election by packing districts with Republicans to guarantee they win more seats. You follow me? If they succeed, Republicans will keep control of the entire government in 2026 and continue enabling Trump's runaway attacks on our rights. You still with me? California is the only state big enough and bold enough to stop him. If we vote yes and pass Prop 50, we can temporarily change California's congressional maps and fight back against the election rigging happening in Texas. Make sense? My mother told me that if a bully hits you, you hit him back. We can hit back by voting yes on Prop 50. The election is November 4th, and you can vote early now. The stakes are too high to sit this out. Stand up to the bully. Choose to fight back by voting yes on Prop 50 on or before November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50. The Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50 and Fund for Policy Reform.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Tenacious Tuesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In the next hour, attorney Barbara Arnwine and John Diggles. John Diggles is a veteran of healthcare space. Diggles focuses on targeting issues of health equity and education and how the digital health can be used to bridge many gaps. The healthcare staffing crisis is also a key reason. He said he felt the need to create an agency in this space. More on John Diggles' introduction at the top of the hour. But in this hour, our very special guest has been none other than the original OG Rick. OG, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
My pleasure, sir.
OG, I try to leave the last 3 minutes of our show for our guests to offer a word of hope. And I certainly like you to do one once we get to that point. I certainly will let you know. But I did want to make this point in terms of vision and insight from the incarceration experience. I was listening to the debate the other day over SNAP benefits. 42 million Americans need the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. 42 million Americans on the verge of hunger without that program. But there are not 42 million unemployed people in the United States. 44 million people need the Affordable Care Act. Why do they need the Affordable Care Act? Because care is unaffordable. The Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. 44 million people need that, and 42 million people with overlap need SNAP. There are not 44 million or 42 million unemployed people in this country. So these are working men and women. And who are they? They're working 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and they still can't feed their families. They still need health care at the end of their 3rd job. Hence the Affordable Care Act. Now, when I peel back those numbers based on my experience, I know exactly who a large number of those people are. They're some of the 70 million people who've been through this system and can't get a second chance. They can't get any hope. They get Googled. They get slashed every single day when they apply for a job. And if 300,000 government workers who are very qualified people have just lost their jobs as a result of cuts in this administration, mostly African American women, those jobs aren't filled by the 42 million people who need SNAP or 44 million people who need health care. Those are America's men and women who've been abandoned and have been through the system. Man, I had to see that system myself, OG, in order to arrive at those numbers to realize what's behind the 42 million SNAP beneficiaries. What's behind the 44 million people who need affordable care, no health care at the end of a hard day's work. That's our reality, isn't it, OG?
It is. And I'm going to piggyback on what you just said, brother. You know, we seem to think that we're in control. We lose the thought and the reality that the Creator is in control, God, if you will. So when He takes people like you and I and gives us certain experiences, we seem to forget that that is part of the journey in our building process in order to make us who God chooses to make us, to be able to serve Him in a way that we could not have done without those experiences. We not understand that as if we had something to do with it. When God said, let us make a man, did He explain to us how He was going to do it? I don't recall that. He does it as He chooses to do it. And the biggest part of how we have to do it, being a part of the process, is through our experience. You know, you don't build a sword without sticking it in fire. You know, you have to really treat it a certain way in order for it to be as strong as you want it to be, in order to take the pressure that you're going to put on it to make it a divine piece of what it is. And we seem to think that we're just willy-nilly here and that we're not going through a journey that has a divine ending. We need to rethink that, my brother. And that's why it's very important that you had to experience what you had to experience so that you can come back and do what the Creator has designed for you to do for the people.
OG, we have about a minute and 45 seconds. Your word of hope for the nation today.
My word of hope is that good people will understand that good people win. We go through our trials and our tribulations, but don't give up your goodness. Don't give up striving to be a good human being, because that's going to win in the end. All of this other rigmarole and all of this stuff that you see going on, that's not going to win. It's going to have its moment. We've all been taught that. You came up in the church. You understand the message. We've all been taught that evil would have its day, but don't sell your soul for it. You're looking at Hollywood. You're looking at what they're doing to our young people. You're looking at what they're doing to people and how they're corrupting them and turning them into these demonic mindsets. All of that's in their moment. They were promised to have that moment, but we cannot afford to lose the promise that we was given, and that good people will come to a winning process. And we have to hold on to that and know that, it is God in the end that will win, my friend, because it is God that has designed it all. So we have to stay conscious of that. Be conscious that we strive to be good human beings. I don't care what your color is. I don't prescribe to all of that. I'm a this and I'm a that. Bottom line is you're a good human being or you're not. That is the bottom line. If you strive to be a good human being, then there are many, many blessings waiting for you. It is that simple, sir. And I appreciate you for being a good human being, and I appreciate you for trying to fight for the people, and they need to put you back in office with your experience so that you can fight for the people because you understand the people.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to OG Rick, the one and only on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 on Tenacious Tuesdays when we come forward. Thank you, OG.
Thank you, sir.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Trump Presidential Library Project is facing a legal setback after a judge temporarily blocked the transfer of Miami-Dade College land designated for its construction.
That land belongs to our children unborn.
Black historian Marvin Dunn argues the college violated Florida's Sunshine Law. Dunn has 10 days to post a $150,000 bond for the injunction to take effect, while Miami-Dade College has already filed an appeal. A judge has denied the Missouri NAACP's request for a restraining order against the state's new congressional map. The court says Republican Governor Mike Kehoe's motion to dismiss the case is still under review. The NAACP filed the suit in September, accusing Kehoe of illegally calling a special session to redraw the map. And billionaire philanthropist Mackenzie Scott is donating $80 million to Howard University. The HBCU says $63 million will go to the school and $17 million to its College of Medicine. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers have a quick reality check after losing at home Monday night to Miami by 1 point. Tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, the Clippers face the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The 7-0 Thunder are the last remaining undefeated team in the NBA this season. This will be a very good time for the Clippers to show some mental toughness and prove to folks that they can be a playoff team. 7 p.m. tip-off. The Lakers are off tonight. They're at home Wednesday night against San Antonio. The Chargers thought they would have the best 2 offensive tackles in the NFL this season to help block for quarterback Justin Herbert. Rashawn Slater at right tackle and Joe Alt on the right side. Slater suffered a knee injury in training camp and was lost for the season. Alt is now out for the rest of the season after suffering an ankle injury Sunday at Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready? You're invited to the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Catch at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Join us for a day of health, healing, and community connection. There will be health screenings, immunizations, wellness information, a Catch Charter School recruitment fair, plus music and healthy snacks. And it's all free at the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Come out and bring the entire family. And if you have not yet checked out our KBLA Health and Wellness Hub, you should at KBLA1580.com. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks Catch Charter School, Prudential, Eastside, Cedars-Sinai, and St. John's Community Health. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that a healthy community is a thriving community.
That's right, baby.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Mike, worldwide PR alum John Diggles serves as CEO and founder of Ascent Strategy, providing services in digital transformation, corporate storytelling, employer brand strategy, marketing of clinical research, and return on investment measurement. The agency's IP uses a proprietary communications algorithm combining online community insights with medical professional perspectives, patient observations, and market data to promote adoptions of telemedicine, remote patient monitoring, and healthcare artificial intelligence, among other offerings. A veteran of the healthcare space, Diggles is focused on targeting issues of health equity and education and how digital health can be used to bridge these gaps. The healthcare staffing crisis is also a key reason, he said, he felt the need to create an agency in this space. Diggles started with MWW in 1997, and as SVP and Chicago General Manager. He rejoined the agency in 2012 as General Manager. Prior to his second stint with MWW, Diggles serves as the SVP at Edelman. Diggles is also the founder and producer of Traveler Jones Productions, a feature film and documentary production companies. John Diggles, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's great to see you, Jesse. Thanks for the great introduction.
John, it's always great to see you. Hey, John, listen, there's a lot going on in the political space. Why don't we start with what's taking place in New York today? We have about 5 minutes. Please take your time in this space to share with us what the Democratic Party is really looking at, what the nation is really looking at, and what the election of Mamdani could very well mean for the nation's politics.
Jesse, I think one of the undertold stories of what's happening in New York today and what we're going to see tonight, everybody wants to make it about socialist versus center. I think the race in New York is about generational change. I think it is about a new generation of leaders, of candidates in the Democratic Party. I think we're going to see young people come out to vote a lot in New York. So I think generational change is the headline. And I also think that trend is going to factor into the midterms. Who can put up and say a new generation of candidates is coming forth? A new generation of candidates is going to speak into the party. So that's what I really think is on the ballot. And I also think underneath that is a new way to campaign in what we know as the attention economy. Look, it's no doubt. You look at the movie business. I'm also in the film business, as you noted. Movie business is changing dynamically because attention spans are changing dynamically. Ways to digest content are changing dynamically. And I truly believe ways to campaign are changing dynamically. Mamdani has taken a very dynamic approach to content, to presenting his candidacy, to talking about issues, and to engaging voters on social media, TikTok-style videos. So I think it definitely pays to take a look at what he's done and how he's come, whether you agree with his politics or not. It is worth studying some of the new ways he has campaigned to get attention in an attention economy where attention is truly currency.
Attention economy. I've never heard that language before. I gather it's probably Googleable or you created it as we speak. But there is an attention deficit disorder. I mean, people are not listening to anything more than 30 seconds or minute and 30 seconds. And that's essentially all they can handle and move on to the next subject matter very, very quickly. How do you hold someone's attention in this, I want to say this political, but also this economic economy?
It's a political economy. It's economic, but it's also, I would argue, emotional economy, right? That so many of us are feeling drawn. I mean, so much of social media is rage bait. So much of what's thrown at us is trying to get a reaction from us. And I truly believe how you hold attention. And look, this is my business with healthcare too. How do I tell stories in a new dynamic way? My whole agency is about how do I get you to care about things you may have heard over and over for years, but how can I help the healthcare industry talk to you differently that'll engage you differently and get you to care about engaging with your health or engaging in new healthcare technology? And I truly believe when it comes to politics, yes, it's about getting reaction. And we've certainly seen politicians do this incredibly effectively, win really tight races. Whether they're delivering on their promises or not, they definitely got you to feel something. And so when it all comes down to it, it's not just about how you will tackle an issue. It is, do I truly feel what you are feeling? And can I reflect that I'm showing you that I'm not just running for a vote. I'm running because I care about this issue as deeply as you do. I can reflect the way you feel and I can do something about it that you can feel sooner rather than later.
So, John, I'm struggling with this idea that that there's a certain amount of acting and drama that goes into adjusting on behalf of genuine public servants to the attention economy, if you will. And I'm thinking that something inauthentic can also emerge by just targeting that space and not really being able to fully appreciate and exercise the deliverers of those messages. I know that we have just a few seconds before we come forward. An initial thought, John?
I think it's really key, Jesse. And I think a lot of people will try and fail to do this. They will miss the authenticity test. But let's face it, in order to campaign now and engage people, you have to get their interest. So you have to do that authentically. I think Mamdani has. And it might not be through your personality. It might be what you say, and it might be in the other voices you could bring forth to help them do that. The recipe will be different for every candidate, but it is critical that you recognize that there is an attention economy. In order to campaign in it, I have to find a way to bring attention to my issues.
I think he's one of the best and brightest in the political space at this hour in terms of communication and crafting messages for progressive candidates, for Democratic candidates, and for people who are making sense. I'm sure he's probably available for other candidates as well. But I'm very proud that he's our guest on the show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is John Diggles on KBLA 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. Meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than John Dickels, who's the CEO and founder of Ascent Strategy, providing services in digital transformation, corporate storytelling, employer brand strategy, marketing of clinical research, and ROI measurement. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's great to be with you today.
Always a pleasure, John. Hey, listen, let me ask you this question about beyond the generational shift on the policy side of what could take place in New York tonight. What will the nation learn about Mamdani's victory?
I certainly think some discussion will come in today. And I really think what happens in New York is going to spill into New Jersey as well. You know, New Jersey hasn't elected, the same party hasn't won in New Jersey in 3 consecutive elections since 1961. So it would be time for Republican to take over as new governor of New Jersey. But New Jersey's in the New York media market, which has certainly been a lot of Mamdani discussion. So I'm watching to see how that spillover affects that race. Again, it's a different market. So they might, you know, the folks in New Jersey might not be grabbing on to Mamdani's key promises and issues. But does it raise the attention of more Democrats in the state? Does it get younger people out in the state? So I'm watching that. But I really think what we're going to learn tonight from New York, from New Jersey, even from Virginia, is I'm watching 3 key things. I'm watching to see which party is excited, which voter base are excited. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are both polling very low, but perhaps voters are coming out because they're fighting for change. They're fighting for new candidates to really change their parties that they're part of, right? So I'm definitely watching that. I absolutely think healthcare can factor into this election and really will cast a big shadow for the 2026 midterms. Key reason is lots of Medicaid cuts coming, almost $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts coming. So right before I came on, you were talking about the Affordable Care Act and what they're doing. Look, they couldn't repeal the Affordable Care Act, so they're starving the Affordable Care Act and trying to raise those premiums. Those premiums, those jacked up premiums, soaring premiums are going to be hitting people in January. That's absolutely going to impact how people see the 2026 midterms. And of course, that third issue really at the top, everything comes down to cost of living. That promise has not been kept. affordability is a huge issue across the country. Mamdani ran on it in New York. Democrat ran on it in New Jersey. Spanberger ran on it in Virginia. We're going to see if that issue carries them to victory and if that's going to be a top issue in the midterms.
So I don't see how, when these issues in January begin to hit the personal pocketbooks of the American people, which quite frankly has already started, the anxiety has already started, but for the intervention of 2 federal judges on the SNAP benefit question, it seems to me that no matter what we're hearing out of Washington in terms of messaging, that the people themselves are going to turn to both Democrats and Republicans with some level of significant, well, that's an understatement, with significant disgust. Because if you're from a Democratic congressional district or a Democratic state representative district, and you're the representative of people, I mean, you can say that this is Trump's fault, but I'm going to voice my frustration with the Democrat, whoever my representative is. Even if they're on the right side of history, I'm certainly going to voice my frustration. Same and vice versa applies, I think, to the Republicans. This is an era where the frustration of the voter itself, given the nature of these cuts and the harm that it could cause economically to every single family in the country, could be a very low moment in American politics. John?
It's crazy to think we can get lower than where we are right now, but we will be. We will be lower. Tomorrow, not only is it post-election day, it will tie for the longest shutdown in American history. And it's just a few years because it was during Trump's first term that we had the longest shutdown. So yes, judges forced that payment, those SNAP payment, where you talked about 42 million Americans on the SNAP payments. But now the White House is saying it might only be partial payments. It might take time to get through the system. These families do not have time for you to figure out your bureaucracy and get food, get money for food and support for food. They're starving today. They're making decisions today if they can feed themselves and their families. So for that kind of bureaucracy to come during a shutdown, it's just another tactic. And it's another tactic in a political chess game with real lives on the ground, on real lives on the line here. And that's the same thing that's affecting the $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts that came through the One Big Beautiful Bill as well. It's the same thing that's happening with starving the Affordable Care Act and trying to hike up those soaring premiums. And you mentioned 44 million Americans rely on coverage through the Affordable Care Act. That's going to go up. We're in open enrollment now. But with those Medicaid cuts coming through, starting after the midterms, of course, they were strategically timed. But after the midterms, more people are going to be looking to the marketplace for coverage. We made healthcare a lot more inaccessible in our country at a time when we should be working on access and working to bridge disparities.
And as I shared with OG Rick, when I bring my experience to the table, the people who are working 1 job, 2 jobs, or 3 jobs are largely also part of the 70 million men and women who've paid their debt to society, both federally and state. They can't get full-time employment. They find themselves on traditional assistance for needy families. They find themselves on supplemental nutrition assistance programs. They find themselves needing more affordable health care. By the way, affordable health care is not the right to health care for everyone. It is affordable care for those who do have health care and pay for it, with some tax credits and some kind of market approaches to making these credits available. But the taxpayer ultimately does receive the other portion of the bill that the hospitals and the medical providers pay, because they're reimbursed by the government, even through the Affordable Care Act. Right, John?
Absolutely. And those subsidies were designed to help reduce that cost. But that cost has gone up so significantly because how many times was there attempts to repeal? Over 100 times attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It's really difficult for companies to do business in a marketplace that you're constantly trying to repeal. And when you lose companies and people don't go into the marketplace because they're not sure of the stability of it, those premiums go up. And so I truly believe that's the strategy here, right? Cut those subsidies, make it more expensive, more people drop out, those premiums will soar even more. And then you could point back to something you couldn't repeal and say it failed. Well, you starved it. And so that's political chess matches again, with real people and real healthcare and real lives on the line, because they can't access coverage. That's something we cannot accept in our country. We must force that back. And you were one of the only people to actually raise, yes, it's important for us to get SNAP benefits back to 42 million Americans who depend on it, who would starve without it. But we should also be asking ourselves why, in the richest country in the world, in a richest country in America and in world history, do 42 million Americans need SNAP benefits, even though they're working 1, 2, even 3 jobs?
That right there, I can't get over, because that's 1/5 of the nation that needs the Affordable Care Act, and 1/5 of the nation, and there's overlap, that needs supplemental nutritional assistance programs. Without those 2 programs, I don't see how this country doesn't slip into some kind of deep, deep recession, and maybe even a depressionary period until such time as the American people recognize that these programs are designed to eliminate mass poverty. And we are on the verge of looking at 1/5 of all Americans ill-housed, ill-fed, and ill-cared for. That's just not going to work. I mean, that goes to the heart of the American fabric itself.
Goes to the heart of the American fabric itself, Jesse, and it also is, unfortunately, goes to what we're seeing here is almost a separation, right? Some people don't feel any of that, and for 1/5 of the country, it is weighing down and affecting their very existence in our country. And that number's only going to grow because so many people who rely on SNAP or rely on the Affordable Care Act are losing those benefits. And so even hospitals in rural areas will be closing, hospitals in underserved areas. So you're talking about disparities which we should be working to bridge. It's the whole reason I started my company. Work to bridge those disparities, make healthcare more accessible. Those disparities are going to widen unless we get really serious all the way down from our policy to how we execute it in our communities about getting people access and the care they need and improving the economy in every community. We should have an economy that is more accessible to every American.
John, that would include school lunch programs for K through 12 and students who go to school without these programs who could very well be facing hunger.
100%. And it would also include how do we do this so that we can raise the wages in communities where sometimes those children only eat when they get lunch at school, right? So how do we look at those local economies and how do we raise job opportunities and wages there as well? We have got to think bigger and bolder. The divisiveness in our country has to do with how people feel policy and government really affects them and what access are they truly getting to the American dream. That is a big, big problem. We have to be much bigger and bolder in how we tackle it.
John, can we move on to the question of the behavior of the Trump administration and the behavior of the Supreme Court? Your thoughts about how much Donald Trump will be a factor in the midterms, or is the weight of the lack of accountability for President Trump falling solely and entirely on the Congress of the United States?
I certainly wish we had a more active Congress in this. You know, tomorrow, for example, the Supreme Court's going to hear the case on tariffs, right? Can the president apply tariffs? Tariffs have increased the cost of so many goods. The Supreme Court is going to hear that case. Tariffs are only supposed to be done by Congress. So the fact that Congress hasn't taken on this fight on tariffs while they're increasing, well, tariffs are going to be the Grinch this holiday season. They're going to impact the cost of so many things. So I think when it comes down to it, the behavior of the Trump administration is going to be a significant factor in the midterms. And then after that, it all changes. In my view, after that, much to his chagrin, President Trump is sort of going to fade into the background. And right after the midterms, it's going to be about dynamic change, in leadership. We start a presidential race and a race for Congress and the Senate right after that. That will be all the focus on all the new faces coming in.
John, I want to pause for a moment because we have a clip.
The founder of the crypto exchange Binance, a man named Changpeng Zhao, also known simply as CZ, is one of the latest recipients of a controversial presidential pardon. President Trump told CNN's Caitlin Collins last month that the pardon, quote, was recommended by a lot of people, unquote. And in an interview with 60 Minutes that aired last night, he reiterated a striking admission about the pardon.
Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt. I can only tell you this. My sons are into it. I'm glad they are because it's probably a great industry, crypto.
The president there saying that he gave a pardon to someone that he has no idea who he is, which is a very interesting claim considering that his own Justice Department, as well as the House Oversight Committee, are currently investigating whether President Biden knew whom he was pardoning towards the end of his presidency. We'll go back to that in a sec. But let's answer the question who CZ is, because President Trump says he doesn't know who he is. He is the billionaire founder and former CEO of Binance, and Binance is the largest crypto exchange business in the world. Now, as to the Trump claim that the case against him was a Biden witch hunt, it was not. We should note that in November 2023, Binance and CZ pleaded guilty. The company paid more than $4 billion in fines and penalties. CZ resigned as CEO and was sentenced to 4 months in prison for failing to maintain an effective anti-money laundering program as U.S. law requires. So what specifically does that mean? Well, according to...
Gina, I don't know. I don't know. Play that clip too.
What is he doing in the uniform, General Hogan, please? Oh, you went too far. I must report this. It would be worth my life if I do not report this.
It's only until tomorrow, and he's going to take it off again. After he steals the tank.
Oh?
From the Panzer Division.
Oh?
And brings it here into the barracks.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
John Diggles, I miss Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. He doesn't know nothing. He doesn't see nothing. He didn't see nothing. And neither did Donald Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with John Diggles on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says it is following court orders on SNAP benefits after President Trump suggested otherwise on Truth Social.
The recipients of these SNAP benefits need to understand it's going to take some time to receive this money.
SNAP funding ran out on Saturday, affecting about 42 million Americans, many of who are Black. Restaurants of Jamaica, which operates KFC and Pizza Hut, is donating $18 million to Hurricane Melissa relief efforts. The funds will go to the government's relief fund, Food for the Poor Jamaica, and directly support homes, shelters, and schools. And family, friends, and music legends gathered in Virginia to honor neo-soul star D'Angelo, who died at 51 from pancreatic cancer. Stevie Wonder, Lauryn Hill, and others performed heartfelt tributes, while his former bands, the Soultronics and the Vanguard, played his classics. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers have a quick reality check after losing at home Monday night to Miami by 1 point. Tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, the Clippers face the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The 7-0 Thunder are the last remaining undefeated team in the NBA this season. This would be a very good time for the Clippers to show some mental toughness and prove to folks that they can be a playoff team. 7 p.m. tip-off. The Lakers are off tonight. They're at home Wednesday night against San Antonio. The Chargers thought they would have the best two offensive tackles in the NFL this season to help block for quarterback Justin Herbert. Rashawn Slater at right tackle and Joe Alt on the right side. Slater suffered a knee injury in training camp and was lost for the season. Alt is now out for the rest of the season after suffering an ankle injury Sunday at Tennessee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
First, they tried to erase our history.
Pentagon removed training material about the Tuskegee Airmen. Arlington National Cemetery removing histories that highlighted Black veterans from its website.
Then they tried to erase our jobs.
Black Americans will disproportionately bear the brunt.
Now they think they can erase our votes.
Steal 5 congressional seats, decimating Black and brown representation.
Enough is enough. I matter, my rights matter, and our future matters. That's why I'm voting yes on Prop 50. Prop 50 lets us temporarily redraw California congressional maps to counter the election rigging Trump is trying to pull off in Texas and other states. Californians across the state are stepping up and using the power of their vote to stop the madness. So vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th, because we can't let them erase our history or our future. This ad is paid for by the NAACP and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. A veteran of the healthcare space, Diggles. John Diggles focused on targeting issues of health equity and education and how digital health can be used to bridge these gaps. The healthcare staffing crisis is also a key reason he said he felt the need to create an agency in this space. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you, Jesse.
John, I don't know. Sergeant Schultz, how do you not know who you're pardoning when the pardon power vests solely in the hand of the President of the United States? And as Jake Tapper said, the Biden administration within the same week has opened up the Trump administration has opened up an investigation through the Department of Justice of the Biden administration's use of the pardon power and the auto pen, suggesting that Joe Biden was not responsible for the pardons that he granted in the waning hours of his presidency. And for a president of the United States, after that obvious problem, can announce that he does not know who he's pardoning when he grants them a pardon. John, how deeply troubling is that?
Deeply troubling, and it's also troubling, again, we talk about Congress. If you've watched a lot of TV since that 60 Minutes interview aired and the president said he didn't know who he pardoned, pretty much every Republican member of Congress, including the Speaker of the House, had said, oh, I didn't know, I didn't see the clip. I mean, how do you not know this? This is a significant issue. The American people are talking about it. That clip is all over social media about, hey, you pardoned 1,500 people so far you've been in office. Do you know who you're pardoning? That's a significant issue. And again, it always comes down to power comes with responsibility. If you have pardon power, what is your responsibility when you use it?
John, can we pivot to the reemergence of Barack Obama in this election space?
Absolutely.
And your thoughts as to whether or not it has any major significance and what it means?
I think it does have significance because I think if you listen to what former President Obama has said on the trail, he talks a lot about promises made that were broken. What are we seeing that what's being delivered to us in the form of, hey, our price is down, they're up, there's still inflation, it's affecting our everyday lives. These significant cuts coming through are going to widen disparities. And usually, you know, this, Jesse, is someone who has studied political history in our country, that usually presidents, former presidents, do not get into these kinds of things until there's a new election cycle. They usually sit back on criticizing their predecessors. But I think we're at a unique moment in history. I think President Obama decided to come out, have his voice be heard. And will it matter? Well, that's why we're watching the results tonight in Virginia and New Jersey where he campaigned, because if those two races go to the Democrats, we know it mattered. And we also know that there's a roadmap now for the midterms.
When it comes to messaging, I mean, I know, John, why I voted for the Affordable Care Act. I wanted to expose to the nation that there are men and women in this country who work every day and cannot afford health care. The Affordable Care Act. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I really wish President Obama would say, stop calling the Affordable Care Act Obamacare. Because at the heart of the Affordable Care Act is poverty in America, particularly white poverty. William Barber wrote a book, Reverend William Barber, called White Poverty. And it's essentially invisible because of what I call Al Jolson politics. Al Jolson was a vaudevillian actor who used to wear blackface and would come out on stage and people would make fun of him and throw things at him, and he would crack jokes and he would say things like, oh, mammy. And everyone would laugh just like you did. But at the end of the day, Al Jolson had to go back to his green room, his backstage room, wash his face, and he was a white man, right? And other actors during the vaudevillian period would throw oranges and apples at the blackface actors who were emulating and imitating Al Jolson. So if you paint a problem black, like SNAP, or like the Affordable Care Act, When you take the Affordable Care Act into the green room and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and you take it into the backstage area and you wash its face, it's mostly white folks.
That's right.
That are going to be hurting as a result of these devastating cuts.
That's right.
I wish we could remove, and I say this respectfully to the former president, and it would require him to do so, the idea of it being named after him to bring forward the question that America has a poverty crisis without it. John?
I definitely think, look, for those of us who have worked on this issue for a long time, in 2010, the term Obamacare became a derisive term about sticking it on the Affordable Care Act because the belief was that, it's going to be unpopular, it's going to fail. And instead, millions of Americans got coverage through it because we talked about not only affordability of healthcare, but certainly before the Affordable Care Act was passed, Jesse, you know this, you worked on this for so many years. If you had a pre-existing condition, you could not get health coverage in our country. And so the Affordable Care Act was all about making healthcare more accessible as well as affordable. But that requires a level of participation. It requires a level of government support. And that's always been a bit of back and forth depending on who's in power. But I definitely think you raise this very interesting point. And if you've watched the discussion on SNAP benefits, there have been AI videos of Black women with multiple children that have circulated, and some news outlets reported on those fake videos as if they were real. They were totally real. As if they were for real. And they pointed to them and said, look, this is what we're talking about with SNAP benefits. They were fake, they were racist, and they were designed to, again, put forth a narrative of who needs the program and support. And there's going to be so many people, 42 million Americans, who are suffering now because they cannot get the SNAP benefits. Doing that with it not only took our eye off the ball, it really took away the sense that American people should be fighting for solutions to this so that we don't have 42 million Americans who are starving.
In that rally, I know that we have just a few seconds, and I'll certainly pick back up on this question when we come forward. In the rally that I saw of the president as he re-entered the election cycle, I saw young children in the crowd who grew up during the Obama administration, who are now of voting age. And I said to myself, he still got it. I mean, he still has the energy and the appeal, and his legacy obviously extends beyond those of us who supported him, campaigned for him, and worked with him, all the way down to a new generation. So he is a tremendous factor in turnout, not just in these isolated races, but if he can breathe hope into the American people, certainly into a necessary electorate to help turn the tide of this present era, more power to him. Come on, Brock, let's do this thing. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than John Diggles. John is a algorithmic genius whose agency looks very closely at the targeting of very specific messaging and how it's delivered, how it's received in an era where we have attention deficit disorder. But he's now talking and sharing with us that there is now an attention economy. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. We come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Auntie Maxine. Yes, your Congresswoman, Maxine Waters. And I have an urgent message for you why we're voting yes on Proposition 50. We've been through a lot of fights together, and each day it seems the fight gets more urgent. Have you heard Trump's latest scam? He's using Texas Republicans to rig next year's midterms. Trump started this fight, and he thought we would let him break the rules. But just like we always have, we'll fight back. Californians are leaders and we won't let anyone run over us. That is why we have to vote yes on Proposition 50. It gives us the power to temporarily redraw California's congressional maps to stop Trump's attempt to steal a Republican majority. Stand up and vote with me. Vote yes on Proposition 50 on or before November 4th.
Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50 and Fund for Policy Reform.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
Today's the day, LA County. It's Election Day, and your voice matters. Visit any vote center today and cast your ballot until 8 p.m. You can vote in person, drop off your ballot, or register and vote on the same day. Don't wait. Make your voice heard in the statewide special election. Go to lavote.gov for your nearest vote center or official ballot drop box. That's lavote.gov, your trusted source for voting in LA County.
If you've been diagnosed with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, this is what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Imagine being a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. In clinical trials, at least 70% of patients saw at least 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks. Results may vary. Tremfya is also indicated for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Call 1-800-526-7736 or visit tremfya.com.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493. 800-515-4493. 800-515-4493.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Normally on Tuesdays, our Tenacious Tuesdays, our very special guest, Barbara Arnwine, is on the grind, but she's on the ground in New Jersey making it happen. She's getting voters out, and you've got to believe it when I tell you that Barbara Arnwine is going to knock on hundreds of doors today. She's got that kind of energy to get voters out, to encourage them to participate because there is a lot at stake. One of the things I'll be looking for tomorrow, by the way, is what voter turnout looked like in these key areas. Did the enthusiasm exist? Did all of the negative news the last 9 or 10 months of the Trump administration move us in a direction to participate in primary and general election processes? Despite the winners, we need to know what the enthusiasm factor was. Tomorrow, on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, for an entire hour, our very special guest will be none other than Abby Phillip. She's going to talk about her new book, A Dream Deferred, Jesse Jackson and the Fight for Black Political Power. We're also going to be able to recap a little bit of the election with Abby, get her take on what took place, what the messaging is, what it means for our nation, and where we're going. I'm particularly honored that Abby Phillip will be our very special guest tomorrow in the first hour of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, talking about her new book, A Dream Deferred, Jesse Jackson and the Fight for Black Political Power. But in this hour, our very special guest has been none other than one of the nation's newest and greatest communicators, Mr. John Diggles. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you very much, Jesse. It's great to be with you.
John, I'm so honored and grateful that you spent the better part of this hour with us. I do know that I have maybe 1 or 2 more questions, but at the top of the hour, the final 2.5 or 3 minutes or so, I always leave our guests with an opportunity for a word of hope. John, these are difficult times for the American people. The American people are hurting. Is Democratic messaging hitting the button, or are they missing the mark?
Missing the mark, and missing the mark wide. And I definitely think that it has to be, you have to localize, you have to have national messaging, really look hyper-local messaging. But that pain that you talked about, the missing the mark on addressing that pain is one of the key reasons the party has missed the mark on the messaging. You could see it every day. You could go to the grocery store and see it in how people are shopping. You could see it on social media. You could see it in the growing unemployment lines. You could see it at doctors' offices and in shuttered hospitals in urban and rural communities. That pain is visual. It's all around us. And when the party learns to address that pain and come with real solutions, not just political fights, real solutions, party will get back on track.
John, our spirits are broken. People have been torn asunder. There's a sense that they're hopeless, that there's a hopelessness in the air. Those of us who fought or lived our entire lives under the Voting Rights Act of 1965 are concerned that our representation could change not only in the Congress of the United States, but at the state legislative level. Your thoughts very quickly on the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and what's at stake in the midterms.
It's a very dangerous time for the Voting Rights Act and for generations of people, including your father, who fought for the Voting Rights Act. And when you look at the Supreme Court weighing in on it, that's one factor, but you also have this gerrymandering fight that's going on now that is really changing the map across. Those are 2 distinct threats to the Voting Rights Act. It's real concern, and we have to speak up. Every one of us has to speak up with our vote.
John, we have about 3.5 minutes before we come forward. Offer our nation and our listeners a word of hope.
Well, I'm going to bring it back to that power of the vote. We all have that. We have the power of the vote, and we have to act on it. And that means knowing who we're voting for issues we care deeply about, voting for issues that affect us. And remember that when we vote, it's great if we can bring 2 or 3 other people to the polls with us. There's always someone in the family may have mobility issues. Help get them to the polls. Maybe someone you know that just has been discouraged. Maybe you know someone whose spirit is broken. Help get them to the polls. This only changes when we get to the ballot box and make our voices heard. And I truly believe part of the plan here is to discourage people from voting, make it harder to vote, push people away from the ballot box. We can't stand for that. Let's be engaged in this process. Don't take no for an answer, and make sure that when the election time comes, you have the power to vote and you use the power to vote. That's even voting early. In New York, for example, they had a record-setting early vote because people were engaged. We need that for every election, nationally and locally.
John, will you be looking for the turnout in these elections tomorrow in your analysis and what the enthusiasm factor was and is?
I'll be looking for turnout. I'll be looking at the party enthusiasm factor. In Virginia, I'm going to be looking at, a lot of government workers lost their jobs and they were treated terribly. They were treated awfully and disrespected. I think they're going to be a factor in that Virginia race. And in New Jersey, I'm going to be looking at a lot of Latino districts to see turnout there. That's been back and forth constituency. 2024, that was a soft constituency for Democrats. I want to see how the Latino vote turns out in New Jersey. So yes, we'll be watching several trends, and we're also going to be watching that attention economy. What candidates used it effectively? How does that translate to the midterms?
Any concern, my final question, any concern that the National Guard and the ICE presence in our cities and in our states in the midterms are specifically designed to discourage Latino brothers and sisters from participating in the process?
I have a very high concern over that based on what we're seeing. I'm in Chicago, so we're seeing this now. And so what we see here, again, I expect Congress, we have to push our congressional representatives to be active here and to absolutely help push this back. There can be no scenario where we accept voter suppression in any neighborhood for any constituency. Too many generations of veterans fought for that freedom. We have to fight to make sure that we have it.
I want California to hear that. I want New York to hear that. I want Chicago to hear that. Here in Chicago, we saw and witnessed a terrorism of people for Halloween. I can only imagine that on some of our election days, ICE and these other forces could very well be turned off or turned on to the American people in a way that could be extremely scary and difficult to navigate. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest has been John Dinkles. John, you're always welcome back on the program. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward on KBLA Talk.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.